Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, before we start, just like to say a really big thank you to everybody that watches the show. I really appreciate you viewing. I really appreciate the comments that you leave on the YouTube videos. All the nice comments. You know, it's really nice to get feedback about the show. You know, so if you have any ideas, things you'd like me to have a look at, if I can do so, I will certainly try. You know, so this whole social media thing. I mean, I'm not exactly the greatest at it. You know, I mean, I do a bit of Twitter and obviously I've got Facebook and what have you, but. Yeah, it's really nice to have the sort of the direct interaction with you guys and, you know, potential customers and things like that. I mean, not much can be said for some of the distilleries and agents that I do the tastings of and hassle them for samples. You would have thought that exposure, you know, I say nice things about your whiskey, you get it out there on Twitter, Facebook, you know, tell people about it, but sometimes it's a brick wall of bloody silence, you know. It's a kind of like, well, come on, get with the program. I mean, I know sometimes I probably criticise things, and obviously they're not going to sort of put that out to the wider world, because, you know, nobody wants to hear criticism of their products, no matter how constructive it actually is. But so I'd just like to say a big thank you to those of you that do retweet and all that kind of thing, including the Whisky magazine. For get a plug in there. Obviously, this month's episode or edition of the magazine is out. As per usual, my tastings are in there, and a couple of those prompted quite several tweets. Get my tongue caught up there. Including the review that both myself and Joel did of the Lagavulin 8-year-old, the 200th anniversary bottling, and the Cragganmore 25-year-old, both of which were very, very good whiskies, it has to be said. And it's one of the things about tasting them blind, obviously, you know. I know I've probably said things about the Cragganmore 12-year-old, like it's dull. But it shows that, you know, it does age amazingly well. While we're talking about the Whisky magazine, it's some really interesting articles. One specifically written by Gavin D. Smith about a number of the new distilleries that are cropping up in Scotland and either in the pipeline, being built or planning and what have you. And it's quite an interesting read, actually. As you know, it's still in the midst of the whiskey boom, and it's showing no signs of going away, and everybody and their mother seems to want to build a distillery. So, but obviously we'll see what happens after a certain election takes place, shall we say, or referendum, to use the proper terminology. Basically, I think you can say that if we vote to leave the EU, then the price of your whiskey is going to go up, and certainly your imported whiskey. And there's the lead-in for today's episode of the show: imported whiskey, Japanese whiskey. Yes, it's always fun to look at Japanese whiskey, and of course, as you know, Japan just can't keep up with the demand for its whiskies, and is going down the route of the no age statement, vattings, blendings, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And it took an absolute age to get some new stuff out of Nikka, it would appear. They were obviously in no hurry to get their products back into the UK market, hiked the price up. Funny that, isn't it? You know, gone from 50 cl bottlings to 70 cl bottlings, stick the price up and slow demand down, which is probably what I think they were planning to do. So anyway, so I had the new releases from Nikka, but obviously that's equals 3, so I needed a couple of other things, and lo and behold, I have indeed got a couple of other interesting things to share with you guys. So no need to talk about the distilleries and what have you, because I've obviously spoken about them at length in the past. So we'll just crack on and introduce this afternoon's lineup. Right, okay, so we're going to kick off today's tasting with this. This is, well, I say newly released. I think it was released tail end of last year, I think, from the Shinzu distillery. This is called the Mars Maltage Cosmo. Now, again, I've spoken about Mars when I've reviewed a couple of their other whiskies, not well, probably quite a long time ago, I imagine now. But the interesting thing about this is that, as I said, distilleries trying to sort of move to more to the no age statement bottlings, trying to use younger spirit, and certainly it appears that is what they have done here. They have basically vatted together, I would guess, probably 3-year-old malt from their own distillery, from the Shinzo distillery, with Scottish malt. So could be interesting. Judging by the colour, I would imagine there's a fair chunk of sherry in that. So might hide some of the youthfulness, but we will see. So could be interesting. Also released last year, I believe, Suntory started releasing the Distillers Reserve bottling in from their 2 distilleries, both Akushu and Yamazaki, and this is the first time I've actually managed to get my hands on a bottle of the Yamazaki, so going to be interesting to taste that. Now, I would guess, I was almost about to say, having tasted this already, whoops, that will kind of let the game away, which I don't want to do. But as we know, Yamazaki uses both American oak, sherry cask, and Japanese oak, as in Mizunara. So, and from my belief is that the younger whiskies, certainly this particular one, tend to have more Mizunara than say the older releases like the 12-year-old and the 18 and what have you. So that will be interesting to see. And I love the character of Mizunara. It's just, you know, one of those things that sort of makes sort of Japanese whiskey sort of stand out, shall we say. And then we're going to look at the 3 bottlings from Nikka. We're going to kick off with the new no age statement from Miyagikyo, bottled at 45%. Incidentally, both the Mars and the Yamazaki are both bottled at 43%. Then we're going to look at the no age statement, the new no age statement Yoshi, and finally we're going to look at the new Nikka 12-year-old. This is also bottled at 43 years old and comprises malts from both Yoshi and Sendai, or Miyagikyo, as the case may be. So, interesting lineup, I think, for this afternoon, and I think it's time to start tasting. Okay, so let's kick off with the Cosmo. Let's see what the nose gives us on this then, shall we? First impressions is, it's not particularly well integrated. It feels separate. You can smell the separate components. It's got a slight sort of spirity, young, barleyed character, and then it feels like there's a weightier presence beneath it. Obviously, the sherry matured malt, the Scottish malt, having I would guess a bit more age to it, but there's a disconnect on the nose between the two, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's dense. There's some obvious sherry notes. There's some coffee. A little bit of almost chocolatey spice, but to be honest with you, it's not giving me a huge amount. It has to be said. It's a bit. The technical term would be, I mean, this is not a bad nose, at all, but it's just, I remember sort of when I first tasted this, I'm thinking, this is a bottle of whiskey that you would have to retail at what? I think about 75 quid, was it 75 quid? 50, 75 quid, somewhere around about that kind of region, and frankly, from that nose, I don't really think it's justifying that price tag. Palate. Oh, it's a bit of a spirity, alcoholic finish. That really has a. Oh, God, that's hot. And again, it just seems to emphasise the fact that this is not particularly well integrated. It kicks off with the deeper, maltier Scottish malt, the sherry, the sort of the raisins, the prunes, a little bit of treacle, and it's all very pleasant. I mean, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's a bit technical term, and then the finish is just like, oh my god, you just get this intensity of raw young spirit. I mean, it's not fainty or full of impurities, but it's just hot and it's alcoholic and it doesn't really have a great deal of character. A little bit of treacle kind of comes back right on the aftertaste, and it has a almost kind of cloying aftertaste to it. So the individual components, I think, are, well, are okay. They're fairly good. There's nothing wrong with them quality wise. It's just they've not married together particularly well. It's just if I'm going to be brutally honest, it's a crass exercise in selling young whiskey, and it's just not worked. I mean, yes, nice idea in theory, but there's a lot of this stuff going on in Japan, in actual fact. I mean, I was tasting another whiskey blend called Tamaguchi, I think it was called, which didn't even have anything Japanese in it at all, apart from the fact that, I think it was Canadian grain and Scottish malt, and the only thing Japanese about it was the fact that it was matured in Japan in a bloody railway tunnel. And I tasted the 12-year-old, and it was just like all grain, and it was just no character. It was just like, and you want 50 odd quid for this, it's just like you are taking the mick at the end of the day. You are basically riding the coattails of the sort of the boom in Japanese whiskey, and you think that suckers will basically buy anything that's Japanese, irrespective of the quality and irrespective of the price tag, and that's, to me, that is naughty. That is not on. I mean, the individual producers may well think that that's a great thing that they've produced this wonderful blend or vatting or whatever. But I'm having a bit of a hard time with what I feel is a slightly cynical attitude, which is not unknown within the Scottish whisky industry as it happens. There is a very much a cynical marketing vein that runs through the whisky industry as a whole, in my opinion, and a lot of it's generally unspoken about, shall we say. But anyway, enough of a rant on a soapbox. Yeah, I'm not overly impressed, it has to be said. So let's move on to the Yamazaki. Right, okay, so let's take a look at the Yamazaki then, shall we? Now, yes, this is young, but again, it's got some lovely barley character. It's got some slightly incensey, sort of perfumed notes. I'm getting quite a bit of the sort of sappy Mizunara, slightly sort of tighter oak note. Some lovely vanilla character coming through from the American oak, and a nice subtle amount of sherry. It's just kind of sitting in the background. It's adding a little bit of weight. It's really elegant. It's delicate but sort of deep at the same time. And this is 55 quid. And this is worth 55 quid. All right, it's not got the complexity of the 12-year-old. You won't expect that. But by blending together the three different wood types, they're creating something really quite interesting. And by varying the amount of wood types with the different ages, they're creating something slightly different, and that's what I really like about Yamazaki. Lovely perfume, barley, like I said. It's just a lovely whiskey. Yes, all right, you can argue that the complexity is not there because of the age and the malt, but it's there because of the wood types. But I've got no issue with that at all. Hello. lovely length, subtle, soft, wonderfully elegant. Again, kicking off with the sort of the barley, the vanilla, and then you start getting the slightly sort of sappy Mizunara oak coming through on the middle, you know, with that sort of really nice, interesting kind of character that it has. And finally coming through is the subtle sherry character, a little bit of spice on the finish, a little bit of cinnamon. Yeah, I mean, again, all right, we're not talking mega amounts of complexity, but we're talking real progression, interest, and, you know, a whiskey I would be, you know, more than happy to drink, which I am indeed doing, and sell, which I am indeed doing. So yeah, I mean, this is just, you know, a classic, you know, example of how to use younger malts, but still produce, you know, something of real interest. So I think, you know, hats off to Yamazaki, although the price that they put up the 12-year-old and the 18-year-old, ooh, it makes the eyes water, it has to be said. But this, I think, is still, you know, although on the expensive side, I think this is still really good value for money. So, so yeah, good stuff. Right, let's move on to the first of the 3 Nikka bottlings. Let's take a look at the Miyagikyo. Elegant, yeah, I will give it that. Bit of barley, bit of sherry, a little bit of spice. I want more, and certainly what I found with Miyagikyo seems to thrive with a slightly more heavier sherry content. Yes, the spirit itself has that lovely elegance to it, but it seems to need the sherry to give it some weight and some depth, and it's a little bit lacking in the weight department. And it does seem to me that I'm one of the few people that seem to think that. A number of other people that have tasted it have really liked it. They love the lighter touch of it, the elegance, and, you know, I could well be wrong. You know, like I said, I mean, it does have an elegance, and I suppose that sort of, you know, I expect more weight and power from Miyagikyo. It's what that sort of distillery seems to sort of give you. Maybe this is just sort of like, you know, trying to showcase its slightly more elegant feminine side. You know, okay, I can dig that, as they say. But again, it's not bad. The quality is very good. It's just a little bit young. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of green fruit now, a little bit of lime, a little bit of almost melon, but not quite. You just get the feeling it's kind of there, but not quite there, if you see what I mean. Palate. Again, it just seems to lack weight and power. It's kind of opening up quite pleasantly. It's very milky, it's a bit lactosey. There's some nice barley. There's some pleasant fruit on the finish. Again, you could say it's elegant, which it is. I'm not going to deny that. Not a huge amount of sherry. Part of me, I mean, this is the bizarre thing. Here I am saying that I want some more sherry character when I love American oak aged whiskey. But it's just lacking the power of a bit more sherry. I mean, obviously the sherry butts are more expensive. We know that. They're trying to keep, you know, the costs down, so it's younger spirit, it's less sherry. It's got a nice kind of slightly estery, banana-y finish. Yes, you know, again, I keep saying it's got a nice elegance to it, but you know, and maybe this is what Miyagikyo is. Maybe Miyagikyo is more elegant than we give it credit for, and it has shown in the past. And so stripping away some of that sherry is allowing the elegance of the spirit to kind of come through. But it's a difficult one, it has to be said. So I'm kind of split decision on that one, shall we say. Right, time to move on to the Yoshi. Let's see what the nose gives us on this. No, that's more like it. Now, it's got a lovely oiliness. I find that Yoshi is a more weighty spirit. Full stop. You know, it has more of an oily character, a heavier character. It's got that little bit of coastal note. There's a smidgen of peat, a little bit of sweet peat, some sweet barley. Again, possibly a little bit of sherry in the background. Not a great deal, but just adding a bit of spice and a bit of richness. Yes, young, not, you know, no surprise there, but not spirity. And I think Yoshi gets away with it, you know, because the spirit is slightly oilier, slightly heavier, slightly denser. It gets away with, you know, not having so many miles on the clock, so to speak. And I like this. I truly think that this is really very, very good. I mean, again, you know, these are not cheap bottlings, and that's what to me, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. It's a case of somebody sort of says, I want to spend 80, 90, £100 on a bottle of whiskey. I want that person to go, yeah, I think that whiskey is worth 80, 90, £100. You know, I don't want to sort of go, well, I think this is a good whiskey. Yeah, you know, it's not what I'm about. You know, and you know, I've tasted a number of whiskies that, you know, have quite a big price tag attached to them, and you just think, well, would I want to pay that sort of money for them? And if the answer is no, then I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to stock it because I'm not going to sell it. You know, there's going to be other whiskies that are, you know, that I'm going to go, you want to spend 100 quid? Buy this, is bloody good, you know. But I've got no issue with the Yoshi. I love this. I love the Yoshi character. I love the coastalness, the balance of freshness and oiliness. Even a little bit of sort of perfumed apricot and white fruit. It's just delightful, I think, whatever age. Apart from when it gets very, very old and they've whacked it into first fill Oloroso and you get none of this lovely character. All you can taste is bloody Oloroso. But anyway, that's something completely different. Palate. That is a lovely mouthful. A little bit short, yes, agreed, but lovely, estery, banana-y, bit of pineapple, a bit of apricot, a bit of citrus, bit of smoke, bit of peat, quite weighty, oily, some lovely vanilla, you know, it's all rounded, lovely citrus intensity and coastal intensity on the finish. Just absolutely gorgeous, really, really nice. Okay, we're not talking mega complexity here, but we're talking enough complexity. We're talking, you know, character. We're talking really, really nice malt. Great. And finally, we come on to the Nikka 12-year-old. Let's see what the nose gives us on this then, shall we? Probably a slightly bigger emphasis on Miyagikyo, or certainly that's coming through, that sort of slightly dusty, sherry, mature character, or sort of mature-ing character, I should say. A little bit of violets, some toffee, edgy. It's got an edginess to it. It's got some nice fruit, a little bit of coastal, some vanilla, some barley. Some lovely sort of soft, almost incense-like spices, but not quite. Got some nice sweetness to it. I mean, this is an appealing nose. It has to be said. There's quite a fair amount going on. It's It's a good vatting. It's got some obvious character from both distilleries. Again, you know, it's got some weight, but it's got some elegance. Yeah. Palate. It starts off quite promising, it has to be said. You've got the barley, the sort of the slight oiliness of the spirit, a little bit of dusty sherry character, but that finish is really drying. Quite tannic, although the tannins are pretty soft, it has to be said, but it is really drying. It's a little bit bitter. And I don't, and frankly, the nose was an absolute killer. Lovely, lovely nose. The palate is just, I find, a little bit more disappointing. Considering that this has got a price tag of, I think, somewhere in the region of 90 quid. I mean, most of the Japanese 12-year-olds now are pushing £90. Again, I'd have a hard time justifying that, to say that that's worth 90 quid. I really, really don't think it is. I mean, it's nice, it's pleasant, but you know, 90 quid, I want a finish, I want length, I want sort of like, not necessarily fireworks in the mouth. Well, yeah, I kind of do actually, you know. 90 quid is a lot of money. I mean, I know to some people 90 quid is you know, pocket fluff. But not to me, it's not, you know. And I want more for my money. You know, I think this is just vastly overpriced. Good nose. If the interesting nose had kind of carried on to the palate and wasn't so dry and quite so bitter and lacking a real sort of length, then I'd be going, yeah, this is 90 quid's worth of whiskey, no problem at all. But it doesn't have that, and it's not worth 90 quid in my opinion. So there you go. You can stick that one in your pipe and smoke it, as they say. Right, okay, so let's sum this little tasting up. Now, many years ago, I was having a chat with, I forget the guy's name now, from Bruichladdich, Andrew, I forget his name now. Anyway, he was a sales director at Bruichladdich, and he kind of was saying, you've been a bit critical about some of our bottlings, in a roundabout kind of way. He didn't kind of come straight out with it and say you've been talking, you know, you've been giving bad reviews to some of our whiskies. And I said to him, you know, look, at the end of the day, if it's something I really love, if it's a distillery I really love, then, you know, I will praise it to the rafters, but I will be your biggest critic, you know, at the end of the day, because I think that you should always strive to be good, you know, and you may well think you do. Yep, that's fine by me. And there was one particular bottling that I had in mind at the time we were talking about that, which was called, and if memory serves me correct, was called Swilcan Bridge, and it was bloody awful. I mean, it was swill, and I mean, there was no doubt about that. It was dreadful spirit. It was old. It was knackered, and you know, they stuck it out. And I just thought, you know, you are taking the mick. And I said so, because, you know, I thought that Bruichladdich should be bottling damn sight more better stuff, and has, than that particular bottling. And I think the same goes for some of these, certainly for the Mars and the Nikka 12. I really think you should be bottling better whiskey than that. You know, that is not. No, it is not. I mean, let's put it. You know, there's no pissing about here. That is not great whiskey at all. End of story. It's all right. It's okay. But when you want me to sort of like shell out mega money for it, it's not okay at the end of the day. And I've probably said it before, but I think, you know, I'm kind of offering a public service here. You know, I kind of like, you know, I taste all the crap, so you don't have to at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I know everybody's palates are different and that, but I think at the end of the day, you can tell quality, and that doesn't have it as far as I'm concerned. Now, some of their bottlings, like the Chromatagache, try saying that after drinking 5 Japanese whiskies. Very, very good. Young whiskey, really intense, really incredible. The Mars Maltage was it 3+25, I think, that they released a few years back. Amazing, stunning whiskey, you know. So I know that the distillery has it in it to release brilliant whiskey, but this is just basically an exercise in getting young spirit and getting revenue, and you know that kind of sticks in my teeth, as it says. Miyagikyo, like I said, I think I'm kind of out on that. You know, I taste it and I think, yeah, okay, yep. So I'm getting the more elegant side maybe of Miyagikyo, and then I'm thinking, well, where's the power? Where's the intensity? You know, but I wouldn't hesitate to sell it, because I think, you know, it's a case of you taste it, you make up your own mind. The Yoshi, brilliant whiskey, lovely whiskey, love Yoshi. Well, I wouldn't drink it every day, but yeah, you're kind of getting where I'm coming from here. You know, I don't think it's a bad whiskey. Yes, all right, 75 quid, maybe that's a bit expensive, but that's kind of Japanese whiskey for you. And the Yamazaki as well, I think lovely whiskey. I think this is probably, I think, you know, if I was to sort of pick one for quality to price ratio, then I'm picking the Yamazaki. It has lots of character, albeit from the different wood types, but that's really interesting, you know. And you know, how many other bottlings and how many other times are you going to get the opportunity to really get to taste Mizunara oak? You know, the older age stones, the 12, the 18, 25, you know, practically none in that, or you know, very little in that. So you know, get the younger Yamazaki, and you can get that character. I mean, and yeah, just really sort of interesting, really different. So there you go. You know, I love Japanese whiskey. I'm a big fan. Always have been for donkey's years of Japanese whiskey. But when I'm feeling I'm being, what's the colloquialism for that? Mugged off. Yeah, I think that's the current terminology. When I feel I'm being mugged off here because I love Japanese whiskey and they think that I'm going to buy any old crap, then that annoys me. You know, you release good whiskey at a fair price. Nothing wrong with that at all. But you know, you release, you know, mediocre to even poor whiskey at an inflated price, then you know I'm going to criticise it. Nobody else may well criticise. Everybody else may say, "Oh, this is bloody marvellous." You know, this is wonderful. But I'm not. I like to think that I'm going to tell you how it is, and I have indeed told you how it is, and I don't think this is going to be retweeted, is it? So anyway, there you go. There you have it. That's this week's episode of the show in the bag. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, I hope you get the opportunity to taste these whiskies. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you won't. You know, that's the wonderful thing about whiskey. Everybody has their own opinions. Anyway, well, we won't go there, will we? But anyway, so. Just like to say a big thank you for watching this week's episode of the show, and all I have to say is good dramming and good afternoon.